I'm here with NeAndre Broussard, founder of Blackmenswear. Thanks so much for being on the show.
NeAndre Broussard, founder of Blackmenswear.
The goal? To change the public's views of black men in America.
Started what's now a nationwide movement.
NeAndre Broussard, the founder of Blackmenswear. NeAndre, thank you so much.
To shift the perception of black men in the media. Take a look at these pictures.
Hello everyone, welcome to a new show. My name is Giovanny Madrid. Today we're joined by a very special guest, and I'm very proud and happy to be able to call him a friend. He's a very successful young businessman. He's the founder of Blackmenswear, which their mission is to change reality by changing the perception of black men all over the world. I know a lot of people have seen you on social media from being around the communities all over the world. So my question is, where did this start? Where did you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
So, great questions. I'm very privileged to be in the spot that I am today, really based off of, I like to say, man, I'm just God's vessel following the mission that's been laid out for me. Even as a young age, so I grew up as a military brat. One of the things about that is we moved a lot. And so it was very important for me when I moved a lot. One, I was one of those people that was very receptive of everything that's going on, so I always watched everything around. But as a kid, if you move often, you have to adapt to different situations often. And so for me, even at a young age, I always began to adapt to different rooms and different groups and different environments because either you're able to make friends quickly or you're isolated everywhere you go, right? Because you're not there long as a military brat. I mean, 6 months, 12 months, and then you're on to somewhere else. And so for me at a very, very young age, I became focused on how is it that I interact with people to bring out the best in other people, bring out the best in myself, right? And so it's really been ingrained in me as a young person, as a child, because of how frequent I moved, right? And so I'm going and I'm moving all over the world. We live, in different countries, different cities, different states, and I was always able to make friends. Yeah. Right. I was always able to kind of come out of my shell, which I think is definitely something that got me to where I am today, to where in those instances where I was able to make friends, one of the things about me making friends is I always like to help other people, right? Because I was like, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be here with you, so what can I do within a short amount of time? So you remember me, never forget me. But then two, if I see something that's hurting you or burdening you, how can I help to lift that burden, right?
So it's give instead of take.
Very much so. And then when I think about how that's compounded over the years to my role within insurance, I'm a business coach in a sense, right? They call us wholesalers. I take that approach totally different. I take the approach of, okay, how can I work with individuals? One, they have their space of business, right? So let me help you to make sure that you are efficient and you thrive in that space. But then also, how can I help to add to that, right? Add another layer to the business so that way you're able to tap into new markets, you're able to be more efficient with your time, and you're able to excel the goals that you set for yourself in the past. That same mindset I bring to Blackmenswear, where I'm looking at building my community globally to where, it's really not about me having all the followers. It's not about me being on shows. It's about me changing the lives of those that come into contact with my page, whether it's in person at one of our events or online through social media. How does the messaging that they get through our stories help them to lead a better life? Help them to bring the best out of themselves? Because I know one thing about my community, we consume with our eyes, right? We take things in and we let them marinate and foster within ourselves based on what we see. And what we see, if they look successful, they must be successful. And so if I can help to change that to where I'm still going to tap into the appearance of success, but if more young black boys are able to see themselves in positions of success, it will help their outcomes subconsciously. Because now they're like, oh, well, I've seen another black man in a suit. I've seen a black man as a CPA. I've seen a black man as a lawyer. I've seen a black man as a doctor, all through this platform. Now it's not so out of touch or out of reach for them to achieve those positions, right? And so bringing that in, the fact that, for me, it was always, it was very much a move, get to know more people. But then as I got to know more people, I saw that, man, there's a good in a lot of people. And so how can I help bring that out culturally is really where I'm on a mission right now, to really expand the the narrative, expand the level of standard or the excellence for my community through Black menswear.
And there's not really many people doing what you're doing, because I haven't seen anyone else do what you're doing. And my question is, what was that made you? Was there a triggering event that made you start this mission? What was it that made you be like, I have to do something about this that's going on?
Yeah, man. You know, for my community, we have a lot of stories around police brutality. You know, one of the main stories, right? So I'm going back into, you know, early 2010s. You know, Mike Brown, Eric Garner. One of the ones that really hit me was Philando Castile. And what happened with Philando Castile was that he was a gentleman whose girlfriend or fiance was pulled over in the car. You had the fiance, you had the baby daughter in the back, and you had Philando in the passenger seat. Well, they pulled over her for, I want to say, like a busted taillight, right? And so with that situation, we learned Philando's story was, you know, while he was in the car, the police officer asked him for his ID. What he did was, because he's a gun-carrying individual, he let him know, say, hey, you know, just so you're not alarmed anywhere, like, I do have a weapon. I'm not going. You asked me for my ID, so I'm getting it. But just know I have a license to carry. You know, did everything right in that situation, because you're supposed to announce that you have a weapon, tell the police officers that, you know, that you do have the license. But in that, the police officer feared for his life and shot Philando in the car, in the front seat, which that bullet could have hit his daughter, in the back seat, right? Could have hit anybody in the vehicle. And the way that they tried to, even in that instance where we saw it all unfold, because that was the one, we actually saw him die on Facebook Live, right? She turned to Facebook Live and like, oh my gosh, we're in the car right now. Can you get him help? Somebody help him. Somebody help him. And nobody helped. And in that instance, they even took that story and tried to villainize him. You know, oh, this is why he shot him, because when he was 16, he smoked a blunt. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way that the story was told, for me, it hurt, because I can see myself in that situation. Something happened, right? And then I was like, well, how would they tell my story? And if they're going to tell my story based off of negative narratives, because that's what they've been doing over the years, they always try to play the negative narrative of whatever happened in the situation. I'm not condoning what happens in any of those situations. I know, you know, we don't know what's going on, right? We don't know what happened, and I always go on, you know, there's always a gray area. But in that instance, there was no gray area, right? There was no, you know, I'm gonna pull this gun and shoot. Like, there was nothing there that made it confrontational in that regard. But we still saw the loss of life, and we still saw the villainization of that individual. And so for me, that was a triggering moment to where I was like, man, I gotta put out so much positive reflections of my community, to where even in this next instance happens, if they go and look for a picture of a black man, it's gonna be a positive image, right? So they can't just villainize us, because we're gonna fight back and say, no, that's not what he was. He was a father. He was a community leader. He was an advocate. You know, he was somebody that we tried to uplift everybody around him. And here are the visuals that we have of this type of man versus the evil that they try to show in my community. And that was, for me, that moment of 2016, seeing that Philando Castile story, that was one for me that really said, you know what can I do different? What can I do to take our narrative into my own hands? How do I tell this story? So I just started putting out just black men, positive suits, fathers, businessmen. It was all about putting out positive content, because I wanted to flood the gates with so much positive content, because they weren't going to be able to tell another negative story, because they were going to be overwhelmed with positive images in my community.
Wow. And how do you go about building such a big group of people in such a short amount of time? Man,
I think it comes down to touching the heart of people. These are all relationships that I have, right? Or that we but that the organization is developing, right? People want to relate to the story that we're trying to tell that combats the negative. And I'm hitting people where they are, right? It was something that I was thinking about myself and about my sons, about my community, the same way that other black men are thinking about it, about themselves, about their sons, about their community. And so being the person that started that movement, I think all it was, it just required somebody to start it and be consistent with it, right? We're 5 years into it now. We have the beauty of being able to go around the world, right? I mean, over the last 18 months, I've been in Paris, Ghana, Toronto, New York, Miami, LA, Houston, you know, Chicago, Detroit, you know, bringing this mission to people. And I get there open arms, the black male community, just open arms, just saying, man, thank you. Like, finally we're able, somebody telling the true story of who we are or where we aspire to be or where we go, but we don't know people that are in these positions. And so if I'm breaking the stereotype, I'm breaking the glass ceiling, I'm saying, no, I mean, you got a black man that was president, you got black men that are C-suite, you got black men that are head coaches, you know, GMs, working on the GM part in the leagues, right? But we have black men that are in power. Those are the stories that need to be told if we really want to bring our community to the next level versus, you know, unfortunately, we're dealing with this now with, you know, the unfortunate loss of Takeoff rapper yesterday, right?
That's crazy.
Now there's an ultra cry for, man, you know, we got to stop glorifying the things that we do in music. But at the end of the day, if there's no perception, there's no change and shift in the culture of who we are as a people, then we're gonna fall right back into it because it's customary. It's become customary for us to talk about drugs, sex, money, women, right? The over sexualization of women. That's what our music is. Now I ain't gonna lie, I jam out to the music, I listen to it, but me personally, I'm not as impressionable as a lot of other people are, right? I know that I don't blow that line. There are other people. That's where they live. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so being able for them to separate that out, they can't, because the music is the gunfire that they hear at night, is the change, you know, the negative that everybody in there are killing over because, well, shoot, he got it, I ain't got the money for it, but I want it, so I'm gonna take yours. You know what I mean? Like, that's the society that they live in. So how do I break down that societal barrier is really what I want to do, to where it's like, yo, that's cool. How you get that change? I was just talking to, I got a buddy that went to jail for 13 years, got out of jail. He now has a 10 vehicle logistics company, multi-millionaire, right? He talks about from the streets to the suites, right? I went through that. I did my time in jail. He said, man, when I was in jail, I got to thinking. All I could do for 13 years was think. And he said, I came out and I put it into motion. And what he has a prison reform organization to where guys, all he hires is felons.
Wow.
All he hires,
awesome.
Teaches them how to get their CDL, shows them how to set up a logistics company. They come to work for him. He shows them the ropes, and he wants them to branch out into their own businesses, right? But there has to be more people that are changing the story of, well, just because this is where you're at today doesn't have to be where you are tomorrow. And that's really what we're trying to do, is showcase opportunities are all over. This is what you see. I'm gonna show you what you need to see a little bit more, because I really want to break that mental ceiling that we have as a community.
And talking about that with this, well, I think it's a movement. I don't know if you would call it a movement.
For sure.
It's something that's worldwide. How many people do you think have joined you, like an estimate?
Bro, at least since I've started, right? So I've been doing flash mobs, and flash mobs like our staple event, right? So we go into a city, we bring hundreds of black men together. We basically, bro, and how we do it, we put a call out, we put it on social media. We use an event platform to get people to register, and they sign up. Hundreds. The most I think we've had sign up probably for either New York or Baltimore. I think New York, I want to say one of them we had 700 people sign up. The other one we had like a high 600, right?
Wow.
But overall, over all these years, probably in person that have actually come, right? So you register, coming out is another thing, right? So, but at least 3,500 men globally in person have come to these events and feel the energy and the camaraderie and the wow, like just being in this circle. This is my tribe. These are the guys that I've been looking for to help pour into me every day. Being able to set that up is the words to speak about the movement holistically, man. I can't even really put it into words. Just the conversations that we have, and these guys, it's just like, bro, like just being here, man, seeing all these brothers that look like me, that got other stuff going on. Like, I had guys that come out. It is a suited affair, right? You throw a suit on and you come. I had guys that tell me, say, bro, this is the only suit I own, and I bought this suit so I can come to this flash mob. But like being here and being this ambiance and this aura, man, I gotta come. Next time I come, I gotta bring my sons so they can see this, right? I gotta bring my cousins, my nephews, because man, they got a lot of stuff going on around them, man. They need to see this positive, reinforcement of things. And so, man, like, it's definitely a movement. Our goal every year is to at least impact 1,500 people. Now, I mean, that shifts now. And next year, we're looking at 5,000 people within the 6 cities that we go to next year, just knowing the markets that we're going into, the impacts that we can have. That's the important part of it, is touching people where they are. And then the content that we produce as well that mirrors that, right? The YouTube, the podcast, all those things tell the same story. So I'm giving you the same positive energy, whether you come in person, Whether you listen to it on the podcast, whether you watch it on YouTube, whether you follow us on social media. The same story of Black male connectivity, positive community uplift, overcoming obstacles. We can be successful, we can achieve, and we can work together.
Yeah. And based on the numbers you gave me, I think you've impacted way more than that. Because I mean, honestly, I've told all of my family about what you're doing, and I think it's really important what you're doing. I think you're a leader that's gonna make history in this world, and I really appreciate you that you've taken the step to do this. And my question is, if you had the chance to give a worldwide message to anyone that thinks lower of any race, whether that's Black, whether it's Hispanic, Asians, what would that message be?
I mean, I'll look at it to say, get to know the people. Don't judge the people by the color of their skin, right? And it's crazy that we still have to say that when Dr. King, and this is top of mind because I went earlier today. I stopped by the historic Hampton House, which is it's now converted into a museum. But this is the hotel where Dr. King stayed at before he did his "I Have a Dream" speech. He left from Miami to go to D.C. to give that speech. This is also where Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown, there's a movie out called One Night in Miami. Well, it's based off of the four of them.
Wow.
They're after, it was after Ali's fight in Miami, and they came together. I mean, these are four powerful Black men in the 60s that came together, and they had this whole, it was a celebration of the fight, but at the same time, it was a cross of reality, like, yo, like, what are we going to do to change our societies, right? And this is at the time that Malcolm X was really going into his leadership role, really tapping into his Muslim faith. And being able to go there and this morning, right, and feeling that, you could feel it, the pictures of the historical Black figures, Black male figures in this building, but then we're still fighting the same fight 70 years later. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a problem with that. And really for me, where I'm at, man, I just really want to be able to help to break that down. Because I don't think that there's any one person that can change everything, but somebody can collectively spark something. And I say that to say, like, you can't judge, and I say, judge a book by its cover, but you can't judge people before you get to know them. And you can't put everybody in a box, which is, I think, unfortunately, systemic injustices are doing that consistently to my community and I think to all Black and brown communities, but specifically Black. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's specifically our community, because when you go back to the beginning with us being here in bondage, so everybody else got a chance to come here freely. Like, we were brought here as property, and then we didn't even get, and it wasn't until the 1960s we can actually have a right to vote. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much there, and you think about the compound that goes across that to where we are today, to where, again, if I could just tell somebody, get to know people, have conversations, then make your own decisions. Now, I think that that's the way to go about it versus I have one bad encounter with a Black person, so all Black people are bad. That's asinine in my opinion. So, right, really being able to help spread love because love conquers all at the end of the day, right? If we truly loved each other, then none of this stuff will be going on, right? And I go back to my faith. Man, especially the polarized world that we're in, where it's either you're liberal or you're conservative, you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, and I can't agree with you if you're one or the other.
Everyone's divided right now.
Everybody's divided, and one of the things that really divides us, and it's crazy, is church, right? I'm very much faith-based, but one thing that I understand about the Jesus that I serve is that Jesus was the first testament of love, and the commandment is love all, but yet we utilize religion as a way to divide the line. Well, if you're a Christian, you can't support abortion because you're supporting murder. At the same time, it's like, well, let me understand what the situation is here. You make your own decision. I'm not gonna say what I want to say about you. You make your own decision, but at the end of the day, I still love you. I'm not gonna put you in jail because you made a decision and throw the key away because it's like, well, you're on this side of the table or that side, right? I think it comes down to us actually following the commandment and learning and understanding about people. That's how we can then be good judges of character versus put everybody over here, you're in that box. Everybody over here, you're in that box, and I'm just going to judge you off of that. I think, again, long way to the answer to come back to your question of what would I tell somebody?
It was a great answer.
Again, it comes back to not judging the book by its cover, getting to know people, and truly loving one another. Me having a love for you doesn't mean that I have to go out and do X, Y, Z, and those kind of things, but when I come into a situation with love versus with hate, the outcomes are going to be very different. And how can we help from that perspective, I think love, understanding people, having conversation with people, that all rolls into how we are better as a society.
And have you always been a leader, or when did that come about?
Yeah, I've always been a leader, bro. Like, and again, I think it came back to when I was a kid. Like, it wasn't that I had to be a leader. I just fell into that because I naturally brought out people. Like, I brought out the best in people. I wanted to see people win. And so, because I think if people knew that I was going to help them win, then I would have friends. You know what I'm saying? And so, how can I help to bring out the best in other people? I'll tell you this, man. This is a conversation I had with my dad when I was 17, right before college. So we were doing college visits. I told my dad after we had visited one, I think it was at maybe Texas A&M, one of the large schools in Texas. And I told my dad, I said, man, I don't think I want to go there. I think I want to go to a smaller school. He said, why? I said, because I want to leave my mark on the campus when I go. Right? I wanted to, and this is a teenager. I said, nah, man, they got to know me when I leave. I got to do something. And I feel like if I go to one of these large schools, I'm just going to get lost in everything. But if I go to a school that's slightly smaller, I feel like I have a more ability to leave a mark. I did that. Went to SMU, left a mark, started an organization while I was there, started a mentorship program between the alumni and the black alumni and the black students while I was there, and started a scholarship between the black alumni program and the black students while I was there. That's still going on today. So I've always, over the last few years, I've thought back on that to where like that was a defining moment for me, that even still, I still have a long way to go before I get to the leadership, the place that I want to be.
And you're only 34 years old.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've accomplished a lot. And I don't only feel like it, but it's facts. You've accomplished a lot for your age. So my question is, for people that are young, for example, me, I'm 21 years old. What would you say to them when they say, oh, I've got time, I'm young, I can chill for now, I can just do it later? What would you say based on the urgency to the goals that you have right now?
Man, I would honestly say, man, the earlier you start, the better, the quicker you get to your point of success, right? Had I started this mission when I was 21, bro, I don't know where I'd be right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might have 7 private jets. You know what I mean? I don't know where. But I also think too, with time comes maturity. With maturity comes insight, right? Insight, decision making. And so, but what I do say with that is, even as a young person, you think about all of the leaders. There are no leaders that are old men. All the leaders that are historical figures were young men. You know what I'm saying? I go back to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. These guys were 20s and 30s. Martin Luther King died when he was 33. You know what I'm saying? 33, 34, when he was murdered. The years before that, he was in his 20s. Trying to make change in the world. And so I think one thing that we all got to think about is, our big historical figures. JFK was a young man, right? When he died in office, he was a young man. Even before that, you think about the work that he did prior to, he was still a very young man. And so I don't think that we need to look at, say, and this is not like chastising young men, right, 20s and 30s, but you got to realize it got to start somewhere. And the earlier you start, the earlier you can come into the full development of what it is you're trying to do. Yeah, you'll have more sense later, but what you do at a young age is going to define where your movement goes, right? Because there are things that you can say, oh, when I was 23 and I started this business or this organization or this community, I went through this as a 23-year-old, this as a 25-year-old, this as a 27-year-old, and you're able to then help them relate more to those that are coming up behind you that say, oh, I'm gonna wait for this. Nah, bro, I started when I was this age. This is the hurdles that I went through, and your story becomes more, a fuller story. So I just say, I'm a passion person as well. So find that passion, find that mission, focus on that, grow that. When you're passionate about it, you can do it at any age because it sits with you, right? Even if you only allocate 5 hours a year to it, when you're passionate about it, it sits with you well. You think about it day and night. Take that leap, take that step towards building that, and then once you get to a point, then you go all in. But yeah, I definitely say don't wait, because life's gonna keep happening. You're gonna keep getting. Bro, I said I was going back to school 4 times. I don't see no more school in my peripheral now. My fear, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But I said it. I got out of school the first time. I was like, I'm going back to school. Enrolled. I'm going back to school. I'm gonna get this master's. Took 4 classes. life caught up with me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back later. Again, 12 years later, here I am.
Yeah.
Still with that same first degree, which is cool. I'll take my bachelor's. But, you know, I think life just keeps coming at you. And so if you got time and space to start now, start now. Start now while there's minimal distractions and those kind of things. But I definitely think that don't wait. If it's on your heart, if you're passionate about it, take that lead, go for it, and build around it over time. Don't feel like you got to have the answers today. It's never a perfect time to start anything, but it's always a perfect time to start anything, if that makes sense, right?
Wow.
Everything's not going to come and you get the light that opens up and heavens comes down and it's like, this is your moment, right? It's a culmination of a lot of things. But if you're always waiting for the perfect moment to start something, it never gets started. Start now, start today, just go, and then everything around it will build into itself.
So fast forward to now, you're married to an amazing woman. She's an attorney. You have 2 great kids. They're baseball players, very smart. How do you focus on your business and your mission and also give time to your family, to your wife, to your kids, go to her baseball games, spend time with your wife? How do you manage that right now?
I mean, it's definitely a balance. It's definitely, the good thing about it is like now we have technology, right? So in the mornings, no matter where I'm at, I talk to my boys on the way to school. When my wife picks them up from school, because my role when I'm home, I drop the boys off in the morning. So every morning, me and my boys do words of affirmation. They go through A through Z, and they say, I am awesome, I am brilliant, I am confident, A through Z every morning. So no matter where I am, they're gonna call me, hey daddy, can we do our letters? Yes, let's run through these letters, right? And then at the end of all the letters, so they go through 26 words of affirmation for themselves every morning. And I ask them, I say, well, why do we say that? And they say, that's because that's who we are, right? So I'm reaffirming, you've said all these things about yourself. You're smart, you're terrific, you're unique, you're victorious. We go through all these letters and to solidify it. Why do we say that, guys? We're not just saying these words. I say, because that's who we are, right? So they're having great days at school, they're uplifting their friends, they're focused. But no matter where I am, I can still do that. All it is it's a FaceTime away, right? So being able to do that, my wife and I, one thing that I really love to implement, we still go on dates. You know what I mean? As if it's a Friday and I'm there, we don't have a baseball game or something, like we're trying to do at least one day night a month to where we can keep rekindling, you know, our time and get away from the kids. It's very important as a married couple, having children, because your life early on are married, like we're coming up on 10 years marriage in June.
Wow.
Early on those years, like, so we got married 6 months after that, we were pregnant with our first child. So our first 3 years of marriage, we're pregnant with 2 children, having 2 babies. So there's very much a time within that where we lost sight of who we were as a husband and wife. We had to refocus on that. And one of the recommendations we got was, y'all need to go back dating again, right? Well, 6 years after that point, we're still dating, right? And so just making sure that you kind of keep those balances is very important. My family is first and foremost to me. I'll say fuck all the rest of this shit, excuse me. At the end of the day, I give everything up for my family. But what I've been able to do is build this balance that's allowed, I have a wonderful wife that understands the schedule, that works with me and partners with me on this, because one, she also understands my mission. She's a part of my mission, right? I'm not doing this, I'm building legacy for my family, my children, right? And so in order for me to do that, it does require time. So she understands that, and I think that's very important, to have a good partner, have full communication with your partner so they understand, you know, hey, this is how I foresee this next X amount of months going, this is how I see this next year going. And also checking in with them. I check in with my wife. Say, babe, how we doing right now? Right? I'm ripping and running. How are we doing right now? How you feel? Nah, you've been gone a little bit too much. Okay, cool. I'm gonna put the next 3 weeks, I'm not traveling. I'm here.
Wow.
Right? So I'm able to scale those back because of how my schedule works. I do more virtuals.
Especially you travel.
Yeah. And so I'll do my virtuals. I won't go travel or anything. I'll stay home for these weeks. Like for me, for my boys, I'm assistant coach. That's been a thing. I've been assistant coach for them since they started playing sports at 3 and 4. I've always been on the coaching staff. That's a big thing for me, right? I might not be at every game. I might not be at every practice, but they know Coach Dre is daddy. You know what I'm saying? And so being able to do that and have that, it's very important to me for just to plant those small seeds in my own ways. But I do make it a point, definitely make it a point to be active even though I travel so much. My boys gonna know me. They're gonna know that daddy still, these are the rules. Even when daddy's gone, these are still the rules, you know what I mean? But I think that comes from me. My dad being a military veteran, you know, my dad raised, you know, my mom, my dad, they're still married now, 37 years later. My dad being away in the military, I always knew who ran the house though. It was no question. So I knew he had that presence, and I want to have that presence with my children as well, and with my wife.
Wow. And currently, what would you say is the biggest challenge or the biggest failure that you've had, whether it's with your family or with your business, with your mission? What would that be?
Man, honestly, my biggest challenge is time management, right? Really being able to maximize my time, but maximize my presence as well. But for me, like that came with hiring an assistant. Hiring somebody that was able to help me balance between my businesses, that can help keep me in line, but then also someone that's able to that can pour into me from an efficiency perspective to help me manage my time better. Hey Dre, if you were to do this and this, you could probably save those couple of hours that you spend kind of leading up to this, right? So having somebody that can look at my business from another lens, that understands where I'm going with the business, but now can look at it from a lens of efficiency, right? So I think for me that was the biggest thing, because juggling, though all those things does become stressful, does become it's bad on your health. Right, and so how can I do what I needed to do to ensure that my peace is a big thing, bro, a big thing. And I can't tell you this at a better age. Peace, if it's not leading to your peace, get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's pieces or lack of peace is compounding, and one thing that's throwing you off leads to another thing that's throwing you off leads to another thing, and now you're blowing up. You know what I'm saying? So where's your peace? Find your peace and thrive around that piece, I think was the biggest thing for me. And that came back to the time management. But it's, only thing about challenges have to be overcome. And so I feel like I'm still working towards that. I'm still working, but I'm doing my very best in everything. I'm doing my very best with handling my trips. I'm doing my very best with being a dad, with being a husband, with being an entrepreneur, with supporting business on this side too. So I think, again, finding your peace. But for me, it was time management. And now how I'm able to become more efficient with my time was one of the biggest challenges that I had.
Yeah, no, definitely time management is one of the most important things for anyone. Now, I recently checked your Instagram. It has 400,000 followers,
Yeah.
Blackmenswear.
Yeah.
So for anyone that wants to grow their social media, their presence online, and even get verified, what would you recommend to them? And how does the verification process come about? Did you have to ask for it? Did it just come up to you?
So the verified part, that's just throw that out the window. That just happens when they want to be honest, right? Unless you are a celebrity, your verification is whenever they decide to give it to you, like in all honesty. But to build the page and to grow the community, it's three things. It's consistency of your messaging. Excuse me. First thing is your messaging. Why are people coming to your platform, right? People come to your platform consistently because you give the same message. So your tribe, and I always go back to this tribe, your tribe comes to your platform to get a message from you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the first thing, is what's your message. The second thing is how consistently are you putting that message out, right? So if you put a post out once a week, it's not gonna get enough people, like people are gonna tap into it, it's gonna go all the way at the bottom, so the algorithm is not really gonna support that, right? You have to be consistent. Now you can do that in many different ways. You can have a post that's an image. You can then have a video that you did, and like people get caught up in, I gotta develop such high level of content. Now, granted, I develop high level content all the time, just because now we're at a stage from our business perspective, we can't put out anything that's not high level content. But getting to that point, like I think one of the most important things about it is people have to realize when your tribe, they just want to hear from you, right? So whether that is I'm driving and I stop at the light, let me pull over real quick and give you a quick little live. Hey man, guys, this is what I went through today. This is what your tribe has to be poured into and fed into. So how consistent are you doing that, right? So the messaging, the consistency, and then the last thing that comes with that is just brand. It's very important when you're developing a brand that you always focus on your audience and not focus on yourself. And that comes back to also that messaging and that consistency of who are you trying to reach? Know your market. Because if your market, hates basketball, you love basketball, you talk about basketball all the time, you're gonna lose your market. You know what I'm saying? And so how do you really understand where your market is? But then once you have that, understand your mission, your voice, your brand voice, And then you got to be super consistent. You have to be consistent. Now, whether that's setting up a motivational Mondays, and you get on there every Monday, you make sure those 52 Mondays a year, you're on there talking this. Well, if it's Wow Wednesday, every Wednesday you're talking about something like, I couldn't believe this happened. And you do that every Wednesday, you have to be consistent. If you're not consistent, let people know, hey guys, I'm gonna be off this Wednesday. But just, you're still able to communicate and tap in because people gotta get connected with you. That's how you go to social platforms. So, and that's how we got here. I didn't do anything special. I was consistent in my mission, consistent in my message. I consistently did events, right? So I found my way of getting with people. I started doing the flash mobs. That helps me to consistently stay in front of people, right? So there was a lot there that came down to what's my mission and how consistent am I being telling that story.
And something very important is that a lot of people don't get on the news. You've been on the news multiple times.
Yeah.
So you've been on CBS, ABC, Fox 26.
Yeah.
Now my question is, how did this come about and what was your reaction when it comes to the opportunity of this? Because a lot of people don't go on the news, period.
Yeah.
So what was your reaction when they asked you to be on the news?
Man, you know me, like my reaction to it was, okay, finally somebody wants to hear this story. And I got on there and I didn't talk about me at all. I talked about this is the story that we're trying to build. And like this is the message behind it and this is why it's important. Sticking to the reason behind the mission, I think it was very important to where now, I mean, again, I'm basically every city I go to, I get an interview in all the cities because now it's compounded, right? If somebody else is referring, somebody in LA is now referring me to somebody in Atlanta. Hey, y'all need to get him on. One, because he's got an event that's coming to your city that's going to be really good, but the two, you need to hear the story about what they're trying to do, right? So then it became that, and they started telling everybody about it. But for me, it was the first time I had an interview. It was kind of like, oh wow! And it was at home. It was at NBC5 in Dallas, and I got to come into the studio and I sat down. And I was, this is great, but that came from a friend that I had met that understood the story. They have to give you a shot, right? Somebody got to open that door, but once that door is open, you better be ready. And I feel like that's one thing that a lot of people miss out on. Once the door is open, they're not ready. Oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this. And then boom, that opportunity comes and they fumble it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was understanding what the mission was. How do I get that word across? And then when I had the opportunity, I'm going to give them everything they need to know about my mission, my organization. And that's just continue to grow and grow.
Yeah. And NeAndre, I have to compliment you. You probably have one of the best suit collections in the world.
I'll say that. Yeah, I'll say that.
When did you get into fashion and tell people about your brand, the suit brands?
Man, so I got into fashion, honestly, outside of college. So I joined a fraternity that was Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. We were very fashionable gentlemen. That's our thing, right?
Now where?
We are.
Still are.
Even now. We gonna go to the party and everybody else in the party gonna have what they got on, and then boom, oh, you know the Kappas are here, right? Oh, they walked in the door, oh, they clean. So it don't have to be a suit, but just the appearance, right? We take pride in that because you're elevating a standard. You're not gonna be a part of this organization, and you don't take pride in how you come into a room and how people interact and engage with you, right? So being a Kappa, one. Secondly, I started in finance, right? Out of college, I went to banking. So I've always been around suits when it came to, my work attire. I had to wear suits in the bank. So that kind of grew a little bit more into the flair of, okay, well, can I start wearing colors, different fabrics, different, cuts, all these kind of things. So then I kind of started becoming a student of the suit game because I had to wear them often. And I didn't want to be like everybody else in the office. So I had to elevate myself as well within that. And then fast forward, we go into, I launched this mission, and one of the things about the mission is that people love the way that I dress, the suits. And so at that point, I became, all right, well, everybody's always asking me about where my suit came from. I might as well make suits too. And that's kind of how I got into the suit collection of the business.
How many suits do you have right now?
In my closet, I probably have about 50.
Wow.
50. And honestly, that's. I know guys that have way more than that. Yeah. And so, for me, I'm like, dang, I only got 50. And that's but I don't have a lot of jeans. I have suits and sweats, bro. That's what I have. Suits, sweats, t-shirts, polos, and button downs.
I think you even go to the beach in suits.
No, I have been to the beach in a linen suit. I rolled up the pants, went into the water, but it's linen. You know what I'm saying? It's linen. But yeah, that's me. So people are buying things. Well, I make suits, and so my desire is okay. Well, I have 3 pairs of jeans, but I have so many pairs of suit pants, but it's custom. So all of my pants fit they fit great. You know what I mean? So they're comfortable. So it's not like I'm wearing a suit. But yeah, that developmental desire for fashion came. Yeah. And it really, as you get older, I have my own money now, so I can afford to buy, the suits that I want versus, as a younger person, that's always what my parents put me in.
Right? And they're not cheap.
And
they're not cheap.
And so being able to kind of go on this route now, like that's what because for me too, the suit is it's a confidence booster for me, right? Especially being a young black man in financial services, especially with my role as a wholesaler, as a business coach. A lot of times I came into a room and, who's this young 28, 29-year-old black kid? He don't know shit. That was their thought. But when I get that first compliment, oh, bro, that's a nice suit you got on today. I knew I won, right? At that point, you're going to listen to me.
Something they don't forget.
Yeah. So you're going to, okay, what you got to talk about then? Like, you're here, you got a nice suit. Okay, what you got to talk about? And it helped to raise my confidence in those rooms where I was the only that looked like me, but I'm supposed to be the one educating all these guys. Mm-hmm. So starting off and saying like, oh, they're not interested versus, oh, I've already won because they like my suit. I can talk about that, and then I can easily blend in. Hey man, well, how's your business going? What are you doing with your business? Oh, this is what I did, right? And then I can easily flow into that conversation. So it even helped me at an early age. That even the more as to why I kind of stayed in the suit world, just because I was in finances, financial services. But it always helped to eliminate that first hurdle for me as a young black man in those rooms with majority older white men, to where I get that compliment and their guard is down. So they're going to take in the information I got because like, oh, he look good. I ain't never seen nobody wear a pink salmon suit, like, and it's linen. Like, then I can kind of go into
you
that.
You have every color. Yeah, I've seen every color.
Yeah.
So NeAndre, in 10 to 15 years, I want you to watch this video again and say to yourself, hey, I've come a long way. So in 10 to 15 years, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself? What do you want to accomplish in the next 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, man, I'll be honest with you, man. 10 to 15 years from now, I won't be still working at the insurance company. I probably would have sold 3 businesses by then, right? That's my goal. My goal is to be able to, sustain myself, right? Work in a space to where I love what I do with insurance, don't get me wrong. But you're a business owner. I work for the company. You feel me? And so you have freedoms that I got a lot of freedoms in my role, but at the end of the day, I still got to report to somebody else. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to grow it in a way to where I hold my own goals, I hold my own, all those kind of things. And so still leveraging the knowledge, of course, obviously that I have in this industry, but 15 years from now, I don't feel like working for anybody. No, 10 years from now, I don't feel like working for anybody.
So the companies that you own right now, you want to grow them, then exit them?
Exit. I love an exit strategy. And I'm learning more about that now than I was before. I was like, oh, I want to work this into, it's like, I'm now meeting guys. They're like, bro, I'm on my 3rd business right now. Wait, what you mean? You didn't love that business so much that they said, I loved it so much that I sold it to somebody else at a profit and started another one. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, right? I already did it. I know how to do it. Sold that one. Took that money to start another one. And now I got a nest egg. My kids are in trust fund babies now because I sold it. Now I'm on this one. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Get it to a point. People find the value of it. Sell it. So now I'm thinking, okay, exit strategies. What are these exit strategies and how do they work? But always being able to do something that's close to me. I plan to have a nonprofit, something that's, go with me forever. But definitely, I definitely feel like I'll be a few businesses in at that time that allows me to, again, have that flexibility, that freedom. My kids will be in college, out of college at that time. And so what are me and my wife doing to celebrate? I think, at that point we should have 2 houses, a house, at a minimum, right? 1 house, a villa somewhere that we can go and we can travel to, we can enjoy ourselves. Let me see,
You're already building a
10
house.
years, I'm 44, yes. So that'll be the one that I have that's stationary, but I'm gonna have another one somewhere else. I'll be mid-40s, close to 50 at that time. I feel like I'll be in a stage in my life where impact, hopefully by then I have a couple of books out, right? That's definitely something that I wanna get to. I know I have a lot up here, just need to get it out. So definitely wanna be able to say, I've written those books.
Only 2 things can outlive you, a tree and a book.
Very true, yeah. Yeah, and a cockroach.
Yeah. So, well, NeAndre, I know that in 10 to 15 years, you're going to be exactly where you want to be because I really believe in you. I know you're going to go down in the history books.
Oh, thank you, bro.
And last but not least, where can people find you?
Yeah, man. You can find me online. My personal page is Mr. M-I-S-T-E-R Broussard, Broussard. So on Instagram at Mr. Broussard. My platform, you can go to blackmenswear.com. You can go Instagram at Blackmenswear, Twitter at Blackmenswear, Facebook Black Menswear, and TikTok The Black Menswear. Somebody stole Black Menswear before we got there. So we're The Black Menswear on TikTok, man. But again, just tap in on all podcast platforms. You can find me at The Check-In with Black Menswear. I've been able to interview some great people on that platform talking about their success stories on a one-on-one basis. You can also find our YouTube series called Dapper Conversations on YouTube. So go and check that out as well. Again, we are trying to inject as many positive stories as we can from different mediums around our community. So tap in, hit the comments, let me know how you feel about everything. But we definitely love feedback from our audience.
Well, NeAndre, thank you for your time.
Nah, thank you,
I
brother.
appreciate
Thank
you for
brother.
everything you
I
do.
appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Good to be here.